Hey folks, Adam here. I'm still fairly new in my journey of understanding audio recording, and unfortunately for this one, I tried to adjust some settings, and it ended up being way too loud and peaking out a lot of the audio. I did my best to correct it, and I hope you forgive these slight growing pains as we get better at the show. I still think this is a good episode and worth listening to, so thank you for your patience. This week, we talk about our old work, spend too much time talking about Elden Ring, and implore you to make more stuff.
More!
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 More.
I suffer without stuff. Do not prolong my suffering.
Welcome to Halftone Takes, high contrast conversations where we zoom out to see the bigger picture. I am one of your hosts, Adam Bucheri, aka the Loathsome Dung Eater.
Aww. If you would have told me that, I would have definitely picked a better one. I feel like I have to make another one on the spot. I'm gonna save the one I have now, and I am the other half of the host, Cory Adam, aka the ever brilliant Gold Mask. I guess
doesn't seem so brilliant to me.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say Sir Gideon, but I was like, I don't know if that's appropriate.
So
I don't want people extra hating me. Yeah.
Be all-knowing.
So get in off now. They're all-knowing.
Oh.
I was about to do... Oh.
Halftone Takes. You shine so brilliantly.
Oh. Arise, ye podcasts. Ye dead.
Ye podcast addicts.
Ye dead who yet live.
Get a job.
Get a real job.
Doesn't fighting bears in the woods doesn't count.
It should though. This has gone too far.
This is it. Yeah, so welcome to Halftone Takes. On today's episode, I wanted to talk to Cory about a little something special, something that he has been keeping buried for years.
Oh no,
Cory, why do you keep your light under a bushel?
I don't know.
I am, of course, talking about Hayman.
Uh-oh. Just to let you all know, you have this man to blame for all of this, what's coming.
Yes, correct.
Yes. You asked for the apocalypse, and now you've got it.
Hayman is a rabbit hole that has virtually infinite depth. It tunnels straight through the core of the earth in its depth and complexity. So, yeah. Oh, and Cory is now holding up the Hayman Records, a spiral-bound notebook that, as far as I know, is completely filled.
Mostly. There's some blank, parts in it, but only because, I said what I wanted to say after. None of these have descriptions in it. Oh, that's on the computer. That's what I had the computer file for.
I'm familiar with the digital archive.
Yeah. But that's the only reason why all these pages aren't filled. But other than that, it's kind of an ultimate record. Yeah.
Right. So let's start with the first question on the Q&A. What is Hayman and how did it start?
Okay.
And for the record, I was considering bringing my own weird early work into this and having this be an episode about early work and our relationship with it. Early creative projects that I feel like lots of people get involved in. Most people have a story in them in some capacity. and I would be interested in talking about like my relationship with old work, which is I don't like it. But I feel like Hayman is unique not only because of its staggering scope, but also because you're still very fond of it.
I'm fond of it like, let me see. I'm fond of it how I'm fond of it how I used to like my old clothes that I used to wear when I was like in middle school, and I thought it was cool. You know, those, you're like, oh man, look at what I bought, like a Payless. Look at these shoes, man, they're so cool. And then you look back at it 10 years later, like, or even 5 years, and you're like, oh, why? I mean, I understand the thought process back then of like, yeah, I might have been cool. It's like how trends change, where clothes are cool back in the 90s, but then, you know, you see like young kids bringing back the old school clothes, and then you're just like, throw up in my mouth. Why is this a thing? Why is it a thing again?
Are you comparing Hayman to a t-shirt featuring the Tasmanian Devil wearing a backwards baseball cap and a b-ball jersey?
You didn't have one of those? Like, sure, Adam.
I might
have. Yeah, absolutely.
Let he who's without sin throw the first stone.
Yeah. But that's the thing. We all have old work and stuff that we look back and we're like, ew. But at the same time, it's good to see how far you've come. Even like you said, Hayman is unique because like I made it back when I came up with the idea when I was in like elementary school, and I'm not kidding, like fifth grade. And it just spiraled from there. And it was amazing. It's amazing to see that I still have kind of a record of my thought process back then. Not only my thought process, but my world building back then was kind of awesome. Like I was a cool kid back in the day. What's wrong with me? Why am I so boring? Why am I going to and fro with these so-called auteurs and like, yeah, that's the real stuff right here. And looking back at this, I'm like, no, this shit was awesome. And I'm like, yeah, the writing wasn't good because I was a kid. The idea, I don't want to, we're going to get into the ideas and the actual nitty gritty later, I'm guessing. Because like I said, I'm looking at the notebook of all this, and this isn't a thin notebook, guys. This is like a thick one. I filled it with stuff for this universe that I created that nobody saw when I was a kid. Because I was like, I just want to create. I just want to make, I see these TV shows, I see all these movies, and I'm like, this is the stuff that I want to make. I seriously thought, without even knowing about like Marvel and DC and stuff like that, I was like, I want to be this. I want to be like Stan Lee. I want to just create stuff and have legacy out the ass. And that's what I decided to do. I was like, nobody's gonna stop me, so I'm just gonna do it. And then it got out of hand real quick.
So here's how I would describe Hayman. Hayman is you as a child creating a fictional universe that contained all of the stuff that you liked. And basically, it has the scopes and breadth of several Marvel Cinematic Universes, and it has the energy of Axe Cop.
Basically. That's actually really accurate, man. That's actually super accurate. Now that I think about it, I was like, I love Axe Cop. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think what's funny about this is we've been saying "Hey man," and people are like, how do you even spell that? What does that even stand for? Yeah. So this might start the rabbit hole right now, by the way. But Hayman is spelled Hayman. So Hayman, but it doesn't stand for hay as in like bales of hay. It is an acronym that I made up. That's hyper arrow yttrium. And then it's hyper arrow yttrium. Now I am still not, I don't know if I had to look up yttrium as a real thing or not, or if I just made it up. That is the one thing I'm actually not sure about.
I just Googled it. Yttrium is a chemical element with
thought
the symbol
so.
Y and atomic number 39.
I thought so. I knew I wasn't that dumb as a kid. I was dumb, but I'm not that dumb. I want to look up something real. But I wanted it to be an acronym because I'm like, oh, acronyms are so cool. So I want to make it something like, oh, but I was like, hey is an easy thing to say. Hey, man. And I was like, yeah, hey, man. Because it actually, the design was based off, it was based off of several things. It's a mix of Iron Man, Mega Man, Batman, technically Robin, but we'll go back there. We'll pass over that. And Green Lantern. All of those things. It's technically all one.
The Mega Man influence always came out very strong.
Oh, yeah.
To me. But
I mean, I still love Mega Man, but it's really prevalent, just especially in the design of how he is. Eventually, like, when we put up our like a what you call it channel for this podcast, like a Instagram channel or something, I'll post the pictures and you guys will be amazed and horrified. It's like, what is this? This is like several copyright infringements in one.
All of Hayman is a copyright nightmare for sure.
You have no idea. Everybody listening, you're about to get a treat. It also
did have some Fortnite energy, though Fortnite did not exist until.
Oh no, But
like that crossover chaos.
That's a good way to put it. That's actually a good way to put it, of crossover chaos. Because this isn't, I mean, there's plenty of properties out there that have that kind of like crossover chaos where it's like, okay, this is a little too much. Some video games are notorious for that and everything like that. But yeah, for me, this was not only an outlet to get out my creativity, but also something to build towards. And that's another reason why I look back at this not as much hate and more of, there is some energy in here that I kind of lost and I want to get back maybe a little bit. I'm like I worked hard to put all this stuff together and I was, a kid and, I was like, man, I put and what's hilarious about this is most, if not, I'm pretty sure like 95% of this is still up here. It's still in my mind. I can literally recite how the structure of each season, because yes, I made seasons, 3 seasons to be exact, of
each
the
season, quote unquote season, is the length of Marvel's Infinity Saga.
yeah, basically. That's each season. And on top of that, there are side stories in each season that are tens of episodes long. Not just a couple of it. There's not just like a 3-part, 4-part series. No, they're like 9, 10 parts, 10-part series, like episodes.
My man had an infinite budget of the imagination, and he invented beach seasons.
Yeah, basically. I was going for the Inuyasha anime or the One Piece anime before it was a thing. Well, probably when it was a thing. Those things are old now.
Before you knew about it.
That is true. Before I knew about it. And, like for a long time, and I'm talking a long time, Hayman was my baby. I was like, no, I'm proud of this. Like, y'all don't have your own comic series, like, / TV series, / movie franchise, / video games franchise.
Yeah, absolutely a multimedia empire.
Because I thought big. I'm like, hey, Batman can do it. Like, Superman can. I was dead serious.
Yeah,
I was like,
no doubt.
Hey, Batman is everywhere. Everybody knows who Batman is. Superman's everywhere. Like, Spider-Man's everywhere. Why can't I make that one thing? Like, I want to make that one thing that I would be into. And basically I made him into everything I was into. So it was, nowadays it's more embarrassing than like hate-filled when I look back at it. I'm like, oh man. I mean, I know I was a kid, but at the same time, why were you thinking about that? What's wrong with you? Like, that's better. It's better. You can do better than that.
Like, I don't doubt that there is a little bit of element of like, cringe, old.
Oh yeah.
You know, old being goofy, but like, part of the reason why I didn't make this about like our shared history with our old work is that I look back on my old work and I'm like, this is not just not up to my current standards, but also like, this is playing around in dangerous territory. This is playing around with themes and ideas that I was not responsible enough to be playing with. And this is maybe actively harmful and deserves to be buried.
I mean, now I would disagree because I would disagree like with your stuff. Because I've seen some of your old stuff, and I was into it back then. Now, mind you, that may say something about both of us. Where
That's
our minds
the most
were
damning thing you could say.
Yeah, but at this, well, no, I could say, hey, it's still good, man. You should put that out there.
That would be
that's the thing. That would be the most damning thing I could say. But at the same time, I look back at your stuff. And I'm like, man, he was serious about his shit. Why wasn't I serious about my shit? And I'm kind of like that. I'm like, oh man, I didn't take myself seriously enough. Not like this guy, not like Adam Bucheri over here, who was like, I want to be serious. I'm trying to make people think about things and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I just want to do some cool action scenes and do monologues and stuff like that gets people hype, and you know, I just want to do that. And you're like, yeah.
I feel like as we get older and we kind of end up meeting in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what I was about to say.
Have developed more of an appreciation for no, this is something that has something to say, and it's like the new She-Ra show is lighthearted and goofy, and it's for kids. It also deals with some really heavy themes, and it takes its characters seriously. Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm over here being like, I do need more dumb idiot bullshit in my life, and like, well, I mean, you call it like dumb idiot bullshit, but I'm like, man, like, give that credit where credit is due, because sometimes that, like, some people's dumb idiot bullshit is other people's. Nah, I like watching this stuff because this stuff not only makes me feel good, but it breaks up structure. It feels like it fits. I think like I said, for one good, I'm speaking kind of in terms of just action sequences that have a lot of explosions, the classic Michael Bay stuff. That stuff, in my opinion, has its place, because when people do it right, then everybody notices. And then it's like, where is this from? Oh, this is so good. And meanwhile, I'm looking around like, are you all crazy? I've been saying this for years that this is what we need. So I threw that shit before I came in the room.
No, oh man. Like when we were in animation class, I would always do the crazy animation shit. It may not have made much sense, but I'm like, I want to like see people do crazy shit with 2D animation and stuff. And it was always enjoyable to watch my stuff, if not just like, okay, there's a lot of problems here, story-wise or whatever, emotion-wise, or you need to hold more on this frame and these. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but how did you like this squash and stretch? And they're like, oh shit, man, like this is some good shit.
There's a joy to it. There's a playfulness to it. And also, like, for people who are not as familiar with just like my vocabulary choices, when I call it dumb idiot bullshit, I'm not actually insulting it. I'm just saying, like, I need more media that doesn't take itself so seriously, that like allows itself to be loose and goofy and loose.
That's a really good word for it, is loose.
I think that like Super Jail is like kind of a great example of that, where it's just like, this is dumb idiot bullshit.
Well, you know what? You know what? A better example, in my opinion, a better example that we both love: Metalocalypse.
I love Metalocalypse so
That is
much.
some serious dumb idiot bullshit, but it is so well done. It is so well done. It is amazing. It's
the
amazing.
Animation, not well done.
Yeah, but it's amazing.
Again, it's got like sincerity and heart, and it doesn't take its characters seriously, but also it kind of does.
It actually kind of does.
And the music is like legit
good. It's a fine window. It's a very small window to. It's like a Goldilocks zone of getting that perfect. Like, there's not a lot of stuff in any media that gets it like that. But when you get it, you get it. I think another good example, I don't want to go too much on this, but another good example, one of my favorite franchises is, and this is a video game franchise, is Devil May Cry.
Yes.
It is super silly. It one of my favorite online guys, Tim Rogers, he's another huge fan of he's another huge fan of the franchise, and he calls it, "This is good trash. I mean that as a compliment." I'm like, I completely agree with you, man. I completely agree with you.
I do have a passion, and this is a future topic episode that I do like. I have a lot to say on, and I feel strongly about, of like different kinds of dumb. This kind of dovetails into that, but also I just want to take a brief segue and talk about. So currently it is December 26th. Christmas has just happened, and yesterday we're hosting my older brother at the house for a couple months. He's a travel nurse, and he's using us as a home base. He's a spy, and it's a spy around here.
Spy around here.
Oh, I think that's a spy.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Those are TF2 references. Team Fortress 2 for all you youngins.
Those were pretty good impressions. We did pretty good.
Yo, there's a spy around here. Spy around here. Spy sapping my sentry.
Goddamn spy. So we do a Secret Santa, and I drew my older brother Matt. And so for his Secret Santa gift, I fulfilled a promise that we had been making, which is that when he woke up on Christmas morning, he looked out the window, and there was a wooden cross planted in the backyard. And when he went out to it and dug into it, he found a wooden box that was covered in chains. And when he undid the chains and opened it up, inside he found a small coffin. And he pulled out the coffin and he opened it up. And inside that was a USB flash drive containing a 4K HDR copy of 2004's Van Helsing starring Hugh Jackman, which is...
All that work for that joke. Oh my really god. Oh, that was so dumb. I can't believe you, dude.
Go-to fucking idiot movies.
I can't believe you, dude.
Like every time we get together, we watch Van Helsing. That movie sucks, and I love it.
Dude, I honestly thought that you were gonna say The Cape.
The Cape.
I thought you were gonna say The Cape. I would have lost it even more if you said The Cape, because I was like, oh man. If you guys want to look up some kind of trash that I'm like, guys, I feel like this could have been something different, but you guys did this.
Yeah.
Why did you guys do this? If you want to look up something like that and have that kind of feeling, go look up The Cape. I think it was on was it on TNT or was it? I think it was on or like AMC.
No, because AMC.
They did a lot of cowboy stuff back then. There was a lot of westerns back then.
Yeah, it was something closer to like ABC Family.
No, it couldn't have been ABC Family.
No, it wasn't, but it was something like that. It was NBC. There we go.
Oh, yeah, it was NBC. Yeah, there it is.
And just it was absolutely a trash fire, but also one that like weirdly had a lot of misplaced effort put into it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's not totally horrible, because they put effort into it, but in weird places. And I'm like,
yeah, deeply weird. It does feature Keith David in a role that I find genuinely hilarious.
Wasn't he the bad guy?
We cannot talk about the cape. We have to move on. Anyways, I wanted to just talk about my idiot moron Hugh Jackman coffin that I made for my sibling, because we have so many running jokes that.
But that's really funny though. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We could do an entire podcast about Van Helsing and my spiral about that, but because you know what's funny? Very quick aside, Van Helsing, that's what I thought I wanted when that movie came out. And you know, they had like the little, prequel animated thing. Yes. And I was like, oh man, I watched it and I was disappointed. And I was like, why am I disappointed by this? This is awesome, because, I have a deep love for Hellboy and that franchise. Yep. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is what I wanted. And then I was like, why does it suck so much? And then I watched, but here's the thing. And then that translated to the Castlevania anime. Yep. And then I watched the Castlevania. I'm like, this is what Van Helsing should have been. What's wrong with all of you? Like, this is awesome. This is great. And I was like, okay, I have a problem. And it made me have even more of a problem with Van Helsing, the original, in the first place when I watched Castlevania. But that's a whole nother thing.
We're in the mirror dimension, because I think that the Castlevania anime is wildly overrated and not very good.
Oh wow!
And 2004's Van Helsing is a idiot moron movie that like I will watch at the drop of a hat at any moment.
Really? Okay. Yeah. All right. Hey, dude, that is its own episode.
Yeah, that's its own episode. That's for the future.
It's for the future.
That's all the digression we have.
Yeah.
It's time to get back to Hayman. So again, let's talk about how did it start? Like, we've got a young, bright-faced, bushy-tailed Cory.
Okay.
What was the inception of Hayman?
Okay. How it started was, honestly, I was watching a lot of Batman the Animated Series and Justice League and a lot of those old action cartoons. And they were churning them out back then. It was like nonstop.
It was a great action time
cartoon for action cartoons for everything. And like some of the big popular anime that was just coming out, because Toonami was huge back then. So, Toonami was starting to bring out their beforehand, it was a lot of old 80s stuff, old 80s like Robotech and stuff, which was still cool. O. Yeah, which was his own set of cool, but they started to be a little bit more current with what they were putting out. So I was like, oh man, this is cool. I like how they did this. And then I started playing a lot more like video games that I was interested in, and not that was just in the house. So I got into Mega Man, which is my favorite video game franchise. Like, heavy Mega Man. I played all of them except for like 2. And I'm not kidding. I played all of the Mega Mans except for like 2. And I'm talking not 2 of them, not Mega Man 2.
Not Mega Man 2, the unassailable classic.
Yeah, even though I think Mega Man 6 is better, but let's not go into the arguments about things. But yeah, so I like the cybernetic, like high cyberpunk stuff. I was getting into that, and then I'm pretty sure, I forget when Batman Beyond came out, but then I just lost it with that. And I was like, oh man, I want to do something like this. I want to create like my own like thing. And I just started drawing, and eventually I drew off of stuff that I had. Like, I had action figures back then, because I played a lot with action figures, and I just get anything that looked cool. even if it was like little toys that came out of like Happy Meals or something like that. I was like, if it looks cool or I can paint it or something like that, I'll take it. And I ended up doing that. And, it spiraled from there because I found an action figure that I really liked the look of. And that basically became the blueprint for Hayman. And it was funny because it was like a little guy that was that big, like maybe not even a foot or whatever. It's like not even half a foot. It was like maybe 3 inches. It was 3-inch little guy. And his arms couldn't bend. His arms just went up like, like laterally, basically. And that's all. It wouldn't even go up the whole way. It just went up like this.
Not a lot of articulation.
Yeah, you couldn't bend his knees or anything, but he looked cool. And I was like, I can build it off of that. And that's what ended up happening. Once I drew him enough, then I was like, oh, he needs a backstory. Oh, he needs a place to live. Oh, he needs a car. So one of my RC cars that I had became his like Batmobile, which could literally do everything. And it was because I will tell you, and this is going to be a running theme, he looked like the RC car off of Toy Story, and he had the same like personality, period. So I made him have artificial intelligence so he could talk to Hayman, and he had the little eyes. Because I said, oh, that's really cool that the car has artificial intelligence. So the car can drive on its own. But when Hayman gets into it, his suit connects to the car and then he can just drive it, like he can take control. But then if he has to fly out like eject, like the car can drive on its own and talk to Hayman in his like in the super suit. Now, mind you, the super suit, that's exactly what it is. It's because Hayman himself doesn't have superpowers. Because I like that idea. So Hayman doesn't have superpowers. Hayman is actually a kid called Kenny Cadet. It used to be Kit Cadet, but that was stupid. So Kenny Cadet, he was 14. He was 5'4", 159 pounds, which I have no idea how I got that
Short
that point.
king.
Yeah. Short, heavy king. But his eyes were black and green. His hair was brownish blonde, which I have no idea why.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, what? Like, he has the... But here's the thing. He had the power of the hay suit. Okay. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I'm in my records. I flipped to the character synopses. Yep. I made detailed character synopses of every character in this universe. I am not kidding. Well, you probably can't see that. But I'm going to read the synopsis right now. This is how crazy I am. Mm-hmm. It's also the series Hayman is the prime character and hero in this series. Rarely is Hayman out of the story. Hayman goes through so much while being a kid superhero. He does everything from fighting leprechauns to stopping power-hungry aliens with the Men in Black. He even fights in wars. He is a true superhero for everyone. Straight up from the book. That is what I wrote.
Yep.
Probably when I was like 15 or something like that. It's a detailed thing. It's like he's still in school. He is part of the...
How is he in school? How does he have time for school?
Oh, I just read something that sounds really bad nowadays. People can take this right out of context. Especially considering...
Written by a 13-year-old child.
A 13-year-old black child. Let me tell you what base of operations he's in.
Okay.
And I'm not making this up, people. The Super Clan.
Yikes!
The Super Clan HQ.
Wow. Hooray.
Now, clan and CLAN. Right. But back then, I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, no, he needs a Justice League. So he's going to make... What sounds... I can't say Justice League. I got to make something else. And I wasn't thinking about it. So...
they don't have a monopoly on the word clan. Me too.
And I was like super. I'm not even gonna say I'm 15. I'm probably 12. I'm probably 11 or 12, and I'm probably 11 or 12. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah.
So I want to. So we're now segueing into the second part of the topic, which is what is the full scope of Hayman? And you're getting a little bit. Oh, he wrote character synopsis for all the characters. Big deal. That's what you do in pitch Bibles. Okay. Let me break it
As a
down to you.
12-year-old,
I have access to the digital Hayman document that Cory sent me years ago.
Oh, I did send you that years ago.
It features, and I must emphasize that this is incomplete. As Cory said, the full scope of this is 3 quote-unquote parts.
Mm-hmm.
And within this, it has episode titles and then a single paragraph giving a short breakdown of what it is. So here is part 1, episode 3, Hayman, Shadow of Evil. A shadow moves over the city of Bloomberg. No.
Wait. Hold on a second. Where is that? Say that again.
Episode 3, Shadow of Evil.
Ooh, I know where that is. Let me look this up. And because I have the hard copy. So.
Yeah. So it says, a shadow looms over the city of Bloomberg, for a new threat to the world has emerged through the darkness, and he has sided with the evil ways of Cosmo King. And like that's what you get. That's the blurb about it. It's a very high level, like in your TV guide, you get a little synopsis.
Yeah.
This document, which only features part 1 and half of part 2, so maybe representing half of the complete scope of the series, it's a 72-page long document in Google Docs. That's the scope that we're dealing with.
I forgot how big that was. Oh, man. And it's not even half done. That's the thing. It's not even half done. And the funny thing about that is, I've told you this a long time ago when we were probably still in college. We were just sitting. No, this is exactly how it was. Me and you, because it was one of our friends who was there with us. We were just hanging out, and then he left. And then we were just sitting, hanging out, drinking a little bit of stuff or whatever. And we were just talking about our old stuff. And I brought up Hayman, and you're like, what is this? And I went down that rabbit hole, and I told you, dude, all of this is still up here. All of this is still in my head. I can tell you, from point to point what happens. Like I have like basically the whole, all the records here, like the hard copy, like I said. I can point to any episode and tell you, oh, this is when this happens. This is basically the episode. Oh, this is excuse me. I basically marked it, and I didn't just write the episode names down. I marked them, so basically I put a little circle with a plus sign in it to mark the main saga. And then for separate sagas, I put just the regular circle. No, nothing inside it. And then for the backstories, I put a triangle by the episode, which starts the backstory. And then for special editions, I put a check mark beside it. So sometimes you would get special editions along with, certain episodes. And if a special item, like, a special power item or MacGuffin or whatever appeared in that episode that would persist throughout the series, I put a circle with an X in it. So I know, okay, this point, this item appears. And at this point, this item appears. And stuff like that. And I am telling you, items make certain things do certain things. Hayman has 3 different types of suits. I started the kid version of Iron Man. He has 3 different types of suits. One is like for, what is it, the Omega armor? This one's the Alpha armor that's more magic based. there's the Emerald. So the Emerald is basically my, Green Lantern,
Of course.
Lantern Oa, basically. I made like a song, quote unquote, for to how to power it up. I made a dice riddle that I wrote down because one of or not one, there's actually 6. Yeah, there's 6? Yeah, there's 6. They're called the Optidie. So it's like optical die or dice. There's 6 different dies and they all do different things. So just imagine literally the Green Lantern different colors, or like the lantern different colors. The white die. The first die that Hayman in the super... Oh, man. Every time I read this, it's so bad. The Super Clan. It's so bad. What was I thinking back then? But, Hayman, the Super Clan found. It's a lucky thing, too, because this particular dice can locate all the rest of the other dice in the universe. It is like a super map, being able to find anything you want to in the universe. Then there's the blue one, which is shaped like a triangle. The second dies of the 6, being a special storage device. It has proved invaluable to the super... Oh, I can't stop. I can't keep reading this. to the super group. I'm going to just call them the super group. To the super group. Unless you guys want me to keep saying clan. Maybe they're the opposite.
The super friends.
The super friends, yeah. Having a kind of 4-dimensional element. It has infinite amount of storage space. It is believed to even be a vacuum. Okay, the green die, which is shaped like a something.
So I want to just interject that the 72-page document, which lists 72 pages worth of episodes, some of those are multi-part episodes, and it doesn't count as separate. There's not 4 bullets for Planetal Rescue Parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's just one header that says Parts 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
So it's even longer than it seems.
Yeah. All. And it's ridiculous. But it literally is my first venue into creating an entire universe, an entire thing on my own. Like, I didn't have really any help. Like, I taken some, like, had like some friends who go, oh, cool, maybe you should make something like this, man. I'm like, yeah, I'll fit that in. And if I wanted to, I fit it in. If I didn't, I'd be like, yeah, I'll fit that in. And then not.
And then lie.
And then lie. But at that point, I had so much already that people just looked at it and like got overwhelmed immediately. And I'm talking kids like our own age and whatnot. They would just be like, this is a lot. Is this a real thing? And I'm like, I wish it was. What do you think I'm making it? Because this should be a real thing. And yeah, it's like the stuff that I'm reading, like the green dice and everything, I'm not making this up. It's here. I'm reading it. Like the green die, the 3rd dice of the 6, and one of the most dangerous. It is basically a sun, an ocean, a desert, and a vacuum all in one. It can create a big enough solar wave to change a 5-mile radius terrain into something totally different. So it's a terraforming thing that I didn't know the word for terraform back then.
Sure.
So, but that's basically what it was. Because I'm reading this now, I'm like, that's terraforming. That's still cool. So yes,
it is so cool.
I was a genius. I'm not an idiot.
And that's a real thing where like it is tempting for me to like look back on this stuff and just be like, old work, bad. I don't like the big ideas. And like going back, I still don't like the big ideas. Like I do genuinely have problems with it. It is bad work. That doesn't mean that I was a fucking idiot and I never had a good idea. Like, I'll look back on old stuff and just be like, actually, that's pretty cool. Actually, pretty good. Good job, Adam.
And that's the, I think the biggest takeaway from this particular episode is I'm looking back and saying I had good ideas and I learned from that. Because obviously I wouldn't go back and say, oh man, I need to make this. This is something that I need to put out in the open. And like, no, I've learned much. I learned more about writing, more about like composition and all this kind of other stuff that goes into, having good quality work. However, sometimes I look at this and I'm like, oh man, that was such a good idea. How can I make this good? Does that mean basically taking the core concept and just making something completely different out of it? Because usually that's what it is. Like people,
those core concepts can be good. It's just actually, The execution can make a huge difference, and the context could be, but there will be individual ideas that could be taken and brought forward and repeated and iterated on. I mean, we talk about From Software games. Those games are constantly recycling old ideas and refining and tweaking. It's just but what if we did it a little bit different? What if it was like this?
Yeah. And then you get Elden Ring.
You need to tell me that immortality is bad and would suck, but boy, they're gonna tell me it. But those are great games and propose lots of interesting moral conundrums. Unlike Hayman, which features an episode called Trick or Trout.
Oh,
It's a Halloween episode about an evil fish.
Oh yeah. Ooh. What is that fish's name?
There's an episode that's just called Hayman, Night of the Living Dead 2. That's very funny.
Oh man,
the end of the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, where he takes over the Ghostbusters job for a little bit. Yeah, I remember that. Oh man, you could pick out anything, and I'd be like, I remember that. Yeah, it gets pretty crazy.
Pick a random episode, and it's gonna put a smile on my face. Episode in part 2. This episode's called Back to Normal. After a long time of being a dog, Hayman is finally chased back by a familiar friend who is also married to his brother.
Yes, because there's an entire you guys are gonna love this. Audience members, you're gonna love this, because he basically did what Adam did was he skipped over the entirety of my version of the Star Wars prequels, but everybody is a dog or a cat. I am not kidding.
Why?
And let me read you some of these episode names, all right? Hold on a second. Oh yeah, here we go. You're gonna love this. You're gonna love it. Okay, the start of this whole saga, because I have a circle by the name, is Dog on It.
That is 3 words. Dog on it.
On it. Yep. With an exclamation point.
Pretty good pun.
Yep, Dog on It. The next one is Hey Man, Dog or Not. The next one is You Can't Keep Dogs Down. The next one is Hey Man, Escape from Dog Catcher. The next one is Hey Man, the Bonnie Truth. That features another
truth.
Yeah, the Boney Truth. Hey Man, An End to Dogs. Hey Man, The Plan. Hey Man, The War Begins. Hey Man, The Phantom Doberman. Hey Man, The Attack of
Star Wars.
Yeah. Hey Man, Attack of the Bones, and Hey Man, Revenge of the Lith.
Now you may be like, that's just a dog pun, and it's like, no, the dogs create a line of super soldiers called Bones. It's an acronym.
You're not wrong. I know you were probably kidding, but you're actually not wrong. That's exactly what happened.
I'm just reading off of the document.
yeah, I know. I forgot you have the document in front of you too. So correct. I'm like, yeah, that's not wrong. The next one is called The Death Claw. The next one is The Beginning of the End, and the last one is The Truth of Cats versus Dogs. And that is a side episode. That's not really a part of the main series. It's just a side episode that I wanted to write. And then it goes to the episode Back to Normal, which is the main one. And then
so you just have a brief dog arc just to spice things up a little bit.
And then after that one, I had a Mojo Jojo the entire reference. I'm dead serious. That the Monkey Tower, which is, I'm pretty sure. Oh, was it Mental Mind? Was that his name? I think it was basically Mojo Jojo, but he had telekinesis. Hold on, I'm looking up the character arcs. Cosmo King,
I was gonna start
Bombard.
winding down the recaps for
Okay, no problem.
everything that was going on, and I wanted us to move to our third question, which I call the legacy of Hayman, which is, you were a kid, you made this huge sprawling thing that you poured everything you loved into it. It's got The Matrix, it's got Ghostbusters, it's got Star Wars, it's got Mega Man, it's got everything.
It literally has
in the
everything.
Words of CJ the X, in regards to like Rick and Morty, like, you created an infinite fun box that any story could exist in, and it allowed you as a kid to like not worry about verisimilitude or consistency, and just like put the things that you found fun into it. And obviously it ballooned hilariously out of control, and it just became this chaos spaghetti.
Yeah.
But like, that kind of philosophy is something that you kind of have brought forward and evolved in a way. So when we met in college, you were working on what was then Kid Forever.
Yes.
And that also had, like, to my mind at the time, a hilariously huge, sprawling, convoluted world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, looking back at it, I had to... Yeah. Oh, I'm just going to let you keep going. I'm sorry.
I feel like, yeah, in hindsight, like, that might have been how it started, where I was just like, this is crazy complicated. And you're like, you haven't even seen Hayman. You don't, you don't know crazy.
Yeah, you don't.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Yeah, you have no idea what you're asking to open this Pandora's box and let the creativity flow out of me, through me,
yeah,
and into you. You might not be able to handle it. You might explode for so much information.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
But like, you, even in future projects, as things have gone on and into adulthood, you do have this kind of chaotic creative energy, which I do sincerely respect, that I think is a lot of fun. And when I'm being creative, I tend to get caught up on stupid little details where, like, I at one point was just like, well, I can't continue writing the story because I don't know how the mail system works. Like, I don't understand the post office. And that's really throwing a wrench into my creative process. And you, like, you start with, like, cool ideas, and then you go to, like, things I want to see. And I don't know. There is a joy and a carefree attitude to it.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that those kind words towards my creativity, dude. Like, I wholeheartedly appreciate that. I think you're more I've definitely gotten better, obviously, but I've always taken a lot from many of my friends, and including yourself, of like just being more structured with your shit, man. Because I'm like,
sure.
Because after a while, when I started learning a lot better and a lot more techniques and about writing and everything, I'm like, I would make all this stuff, like, you know, beforehand, it was always, we'll fix it in post. That's my attitude.
Sure.
Like, when you talk about, like, the mail thing, I would have been like, I would have thought about that, and I'm like, nobody's going to care about that. We'll fix it in post. I'll worry about that later. Nobody's going to look at the mail place and be like, how are they getting their mail? Because I don't care about how they're getting their mail.
Exactly.
Nobody's thinking about that. Let's go to the good stuff.
And to be clear, I should not have been thinking about mail. That was not a productive line of thought. That was not useful.
But in a way, it kind of is. Maybe not in that context, but I look at something like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they thought through their shit. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, they didn't think through everything, because anything can be picked apart. anything.
Sure.
You talk
have a
about
perfectly coherent world, no matter
and
what.
even when I was that young or coming up or something, we weren't really that young. We were what, high school. Our second season of Avatar was like what, first year of college or something.
Second year college for
second
me.
year, yeah. So it was still early. It was early enough where we were aware of what was going on. But even back then, I was picking stuff out of like, that doesn't actually make sense, but why am I even thinking about this? That is way too analytical. But there is some merit to having your ducks in a row to a certain degree. And I appreciated that when it came to your stuff, because you like to have that kind of ducks in a row, and then you would tell the story. And I was always the opposite of, let's tell this story and then make it make sense. And
right.
obviously, those are two different extremes. And when you put those extremes together, you get, nice congealed, most of the time, goodness. So it's just about calm and like literally I had to kind of tell myself, calm your ass down, like chill out. You the creativity is great, and I'm starting to getting reinvigorated and stuff, but it's a lot more controlled now because I'm not working on several series at once. I'm working on 2 projects, one for my more serious thing, like I call it my Hellboy side, where it takes on a lot more serious themes and stuff, but it still has that edgy coolness that I always thought Hellboy had, and just Mike Mignola's work in general. I love that. I love the graphical style and everything, and I'm like, I want to do something like that. I want to tell a story like that. So let's put my skills to the test and do something that is normally not me, for a work that I actually appreciate. And then there's my other project, which is my real baby, which that's the Kid Forever refining and
what
retconning,
Kid Forever
like
turned into.
Yeah, what Kid Forever turned into. Which is me like retconning the whole thing twice and then making the character over and over again. I mean, literally, this is the creative process. I mean, talk to anybody, like the best directors, and they just go over and over and over their stuff and refine it and all this. And then you get to a point where, this is good. I like this. This is what I'm going to run with. If it changes, it's going to have some slight changes, but this is what I want. And that's what ended up happening. I had to, now mind you, what Kid Forever turned into is still a vast universe, but there's a point. Instead of it just being everything thrown in the kitchen sink because it's cool, I found that a big difference between Hayman and what I do now. The biggest difference, I would say, is that I learned endings can be a good thing.
Oh,
so Hayman didn't have an end. Like, I thought it was just going to go on forever. Like, he'll just keep having adventures. He'll be 14 forever, or he'll get older, but then the story will change, which I think it did. Like in part 3, like he was an older, more edgier version.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought that Kid Forever had 3 parts, and then there was like Kid Forever Future, which was the older adventures of Kid Forever.
Well, that was kind of a mix of part 3. Like half of part 3 was that, and then he did get older, but at the same time, I still he grew up with me. He aged with me. So, I didn't want him to get too old, because at that time I was like, no, because then I don't really understand.
Right. He wouldn't be relatable in the same way.
He wasn't as relatable, and I wouldn't think him as cool because he wouldn't have all of that stuff that he would have to go through so much stuff. Like all these other superheroes, all these other heroes, and all these other people, all these other characters that I watch and stuff. They go through so much stuff and have so many awesome adventures. And then they're adults. And I'm, as I got older and wiser, and I'm like, that's not necessarily how that works. And, there are some things that may be fine like that. But the stories that I eventually wanted to tell and didn't realize I wanted to tell back then, but now I know, is the stuff that I'm into. I'm like, It's okay to have endings. It's okay to have good endings. It's okay to be like, I love bittersweet endings. I'm not as evidence to the contrary, and this is why me and Adam are literally like almost yin and yang. I am not a big fan of just all depressing all the time endings, but it has to mean something. If it means something, philosophically, I'm not making fun of you, dude. I appreciate that perspective because I don't really like.
I'm super.
That's not something I
bleak
gravitate
all the time,
to.
But I do enjoy a good bleak ending.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
you love bleak shit.
That can be really good sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It can be really good. That's not something I personally gravitate to immediately. You have to kind of prod me in that direction to be like, dude, you'll like this. This is good. And then I'm like, you know what? That was good. I like that. But it's not something I immediately gravitate to. But that doesn't mean what I create can't be also good. And it took me a long time, and I'm still working through that because media is out there, and then opinions are always shouting in your face, whether you like it or not. And, sometimes the popular opinion of what is in now is, will kind of make you feel some type of way about certain things. And, it can get to you after a while, but then you just have to reorient and say, no, this is what you're good at. This is what you like. This is what you're into. Keep going. And self-motivating and all that kind of stuff. And that's a big thing that I want to say about this particular episode to all the people out there working on your stuff. Even if you're like younger, if you're like, still a kid, or even if you're older, you could be older than us and still be like, I haven't drawn in like 30 years, but I feel like getting back into it, but I don't know how the people would respond to my... I'm like, shut up. Go do what you want to do. Do it. Yeah. And, it might end up like Hayman, but that's good, in my opinion, because that means something's out there. Something is there.
Something exists. You have artifacts. You have physical objects. You have a detailed history of, not just a story that you wrote, but like who you were at the time, which is cool and fascinating. And like, I'm hugely supportive of just like the idea of doing recklessly, just do stuff.
To me, as long as you're evolving in a positive way, that's what we can hope for. If I was still in this mindset, if anybody was still in this, like what you were talking about beforehand, dude, with your old stuff, and it's like, oh man, this is like offensive and everything. If you were still making stuff like that, I would be like, come on, bro.
Oh, sure.
Come on, bro, what are you doing? Bruh. But you are not there. You recognize that while there were some good ideas, this is not where I am now. I'm better than this. And you're allowed to say that because it's your stuff. It's like, no, I'm better than Hayman. I am better than Hayman now. Sometimes I don't feel like it, but then I realize when I read some of Hayman's stuff, or when I look critically at other things in media nowadays, at like the age or, the experience I'm at, I'm like, I can actually look at it critically, which is what I wouldn't have done back then. I would have been like, this is cool for cool sake. But I can look back at even some of the stuff that I love right now and say, yeah, this is flawed. This is, because everything is flawed. There's no perfect media out there. But I can actually look at it and identify, and I'm saying, I love this about this movie or this video game or something. And basically it's like on a sliding scale. How much do I love this to like it enough to watch it, or there's not enough good here to watch it or engage with it. It's basically, do I engage? Is it over the line of engagement or under the line of engagement, basically?
Yeah, that's a pretty good descriptor, actually.
Yeah, so it's a lot of, I can attribute a lot of my creative, I guess, prowess, for lack of a better term right now, comes from creating Hayman. The universe of Hayman, and just how deep it can go, how wide it can go, because believe it or not, there are franchises out there that are as deep as Hayman, but they're more refined, they're better written and all this kind of stuff. It can be done, but it takes years like decades sometimes, and you got to do it when nobody cares. Like a lot of these big things, they just do it and they just keep working on it. They keep refining it. They keep refining it even when nobody's seeing it. And they just keep going. And then one day you'll have a kid coming up and say, "That's really cool, mister." And then, you know, Hellboy is born, which is literally how that worked. Mike Mignola created Hellboy because he just drew this cool looking guy who he created this whole thing for. But then somebody said, "That's really cool. That's actually really cool. You should make that into a thing." And then he made it into a thing. And then he has the whole Hellboy universe.
Yeah.
And he loves that character. He's like, this character is just what I was into. The macabre, but also noir detective stories and, you know, like supernatural shenanigans, but also like a snarky detective guy. And I was like, that seems like a weird thing, but then he created that out of it. And so don't discount yourselves, like everybody who's listening, if they're listening or whatever, don't discount your ideas, unless of course they're offensive, which shame on you. Don't do that. You should know better. I mean, I hate to say that, but at the same time, I have to put that disclaimer out there.
Be aware of what you are making and what you are putting out into the world. And sometimes you will get pretty far into the creative process before you look at it and be like, ah, shit.
Yeah. Hence the super clan. Why did I think this was
super clan? God damn it. Honey, are you making the super clan again?
Shit.
No.
In that exact tone. No. But yeah, be conscious of what you're creating, but do create. And don't be afraid of, I mean, I know this sounds like a very cliche thing, but don't be afraid of failing. Don't be afraid of being like, oh, it's not the popular thing right now. Because that's a big one. People follow trends. Even
marketability. If you're just creating for your own personal satisfaction, do not give a shit about market forces.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm talking market forces that you may not even expect. Like the film community. You know how like weird they can get about certain things? Like people, the quote unquote true auteurs. I only watch indie films of this particular genre because they're the ones that actually know how to make real media. Or I only play, you know, indie games because the industry has, now mind you, this is a true statement, the industry has gone downhill, but I can't even give anything else a chance, and you should only make games like this because they're the only ones that really matter. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really about that because...
But, like, you're still thinking about other people in that case.
Exactly!
Like, and it's not about, like, whether or not, like, if you want... Look, if your passion is, like, no, I just, like... It's not that I'm a snooty and I just need to play indie games. I just think Hotline Miami slaps and I want to make something like Hotline Miami. Then fucking go for it.
Please... Because you actually like that shit.
Yeah, this is why passion.
I think we mentioned this beforehand of like that game that's like it's not a copy of Mega Man, but it's very Mega Man-esque. Like somebody loved Mega Man a lot, and so they made a game like it with that kind of feel to it, with the same music and everything. And I was like, ooh. I did the Shaq, the ooh. Because I was like, this is an indie game, and you guys actually you guys are doing stuff that I like. Huh. And then I started looking at other stuff, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of indie games that do stuff that I like. And it's not all pixel art. Some of this shit is like high quality. This is not a AAA game. Hey, guess what, guys? Insurgents is not a AAA game. Insurgents Sandstorm, you know that game on Steam that everybody likes that's an FPS shooter? And it looks like a AAA game, but it's not? Yeah. Like, it's good. It's actually good. It's actually better than a lot of the shooters out.
I mean, I talk all the time about survival horror, and like it's one of my favorite genres.
It's coming back.
I'm playing a bunch of the stuff that's happening, and let me tell you, I can say for a fact, the best survival horror game of 2022 is Signalis, which is an independent game made by two people. Yeah, and it fucking rules. It's the best. It beats the absolute pants off of the Resident Evil 8 DLC. And also out of Resident Evil 8. It's flatly way better than Resident Evil 8. And it's better than any really almost any horror game that I've played in years. Amazing stuff. But passion, follow passion, do stuff. And also don't let perfectionism get in the way. So when my brother comes to visit, we like to make quote unquote movie scripts where we just, fuck around and we break a story. We're just like, okay, it's the second act. What happens here? And we go through the process. It's not going to go anywhere. It doesn't matter. It's for the joy of doing. Yeah. And if I'm just like, this is hard, I'm not that good at it. We watched the Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. I feel great about my creative ability. I'm feeling excellent.
And people love that movie. So, and that goes to show you that somebody, no matter what you think, and this is a hard lesson. This was a hard lesson for me. Somebody's going to like your stuff. You may think that it's out of fashion or something like that, or the community as a whole is not going to like this. Somebody is going to like your stuff. They're going to say, this is great. I'll follow you. If you make a Patreon, I'll help you out. This is awesome. And that's a good motivator. Self-motivation is great, but it's also, take a lesson from Uncle Iroh. While it is good to have, confidence in oneself, it is also good to have a word from others saying, hey, you can do this. You can do it. Yeah. I believe in you. And I'm like, it feels good, and it's a good motivator. Don't be afraid of that. Don't think you have to be they shove that to the side and say, I don't need your speeches or your good well-wishing. I can do this on my own like the greats. And I'm telling you right now, no great has ever gone alone and made something good. Absolutely. Nobody. They all have their inspirations. They all look up to people. Even if the best of the best, they all look up. You look at Guillermo del Toro. He just created a banger with Pinocchio. I watched it a couple of days ago. It's phenomenal.
I'm gonna love it. I know.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And he has so many inspirations that he always says. He's like, oh yeah, my inspiration is this, this, and this. I love these films. I love this style of writing. I love this style of filmmaking. And you can see it. And I appreciate it. That's why I like his stuff. And that, to me, when I'm creating stuff, I say, yeah, those are my inspirations. And I think it reflects in my work too, of my inspirations and the people that I look to for certain things and whatnot. Believe it or not, and I don't want to sound too gushy, but Adam, I look at you for story structure a lot. When I slow things down, I'm like, okay, because that's the thing. Back in the day, not so far back in the day, but back in the day enough, when we both started to get our stuff together, you had a way of slowing when things were slowed down. You could carry it. My expertise was always, when things are moving fast, what is readable? What is good? What can you keep? What can you not keep? How is this action? How does this scene move? And when you slow, to me, your expertise was always slowing it down. What is happening when things are slow? What is meaningful when things are slow? And I was like, okay, let's take it down a notch, because you can't have just constant. You can't have it. At least not what I want. You can't have it. You look at something that's, I guess, kind of old now. The first Avengers movie. They did that. Action, slow talking. Action, talking. If you look at it, you'll never unsee it. You'll never unsee the formula.
Well, even
sometimes it's a bad thing, but
even people who are like, I want nonstop action, you don't actually. Mad Max Fury Road is one giant chase sequence, but it paces itself. It modulates. It ebbs and flows, and sometimes you have high octane things are exploding, and sometimes you're trying to get a truck out of the sand because it's stuck in some mud.
And that's slowing it down. That is considered slowing it down.
Great.
Yes, that's the scene that is slowing it down. And that comes with practice and knowledge and experience. You got to know when sometimes slowing things down doesn't necessarily mean everybody stops and has a chit chat in the circle. No, that doesn't always mean that. It means that you're literally slowing the pace down. That could be a number of things. Yeah. But like, that's how you learn. That's how we adapt. That's how you create that stuff. Because I had that stuff too, but instead of me having a scene, I had a couple episodes. So, you know, that's also not good. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And, you know, again, for our script writing exercises that we do, we've only ever made comedies, basically. And we're trying to make
some of these comedies
for the first. I mean, there was Swamp Cop. Obviously, everyone loves Swamp Cop.
Okay.
There is a horror movie about people turning into clowns called that. This was before.
Sounds like a little bit like Terrifier, to be honest.
Well, yeah, there have been some horror movies that have played in that space since then, but we were doing that before. That was a lot of fun. Oh, that's not true. I guess we did make an action movie because we made the Fast and the Furious presents Robo Letty, which was excellent. Way better than Hobbs and Shaw. I'll tell you that for a fact.
I would watch that.
Yeah, it was great.
I would watch that. Unironically, I would watch that. I'd be like, that's kind of awesome, considering that's on par with the actual universe, and the fact that I'm pretty sure at least 2 of the main characters are robots.
Yeah,
or immortal.
Well, yeah, one of them is Letty, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's what I said. One of them is Letty. So I'm like, would I watch that? Let's see. One of the latest movies, The Rock pushed a missile with his hands away from a thing. I'm like, yeah, of course I would watch that. That's awesome. What are you, crazy? Of course I would watch that.
For the record, our current movie script is Drive Angry 2. Bat into
Electric
Hell.
Boogaloo. You missed a golden opportunity for Electric Boogaloo.
I think Bat into Hell is a pretty good subtitle.
That's also pretty good. But it doesn't, to me, it doesn't flow as well as like Drive Angry 2, Electric Boogaloo.
It's true.
But anyway, it's
a classic.
Yeah.
Drive Angry 2 is going to be a masterpiece starring Michael Jai White.
Oh, you don't need to do that to him. Give him a break.
This is it. This is the rule of a lifetime. He's going to be on board with it. It kicks ass.
Don't do that to him. The man has suffered enough. Hasn't he had enough?
Yeah. Why wouldn't he want a starring role in an action movie? It's going to be great.
You're going to kill the man. You're going to kill him. Now, to be fair, he takes those roles, so it's his own fault.
Oh, we're constantly being like, okay, this person would be good, but we can't get them. We need someone who's more affordable. How about this person? Oh, yeah. Oh, they'd be down for that.
That's exactly it. Aw, poor people. Poor I need money people.
Oh, these are not poor people. It's just like, okay, we have like a holy cult, you know, who's working for the angels. Who's going to be the leader for that? It's just like, oh, we could get Daniel Radcliffe. We could get Daniel Radcliffe for sure. He would be down to clown.
He would be down to clown. Really? Anyway, I think that might be all for the Hayman files. We could do another
just an amuse bouche of Hayman. Just
I got more.
The thinnest sample.
We didn't even get into like the poems I wrote for it, the songs I wrote for it, the extended universe and its descriptions of each planet, which is called something different, aka like Mercury, aka Congo 9. Why did I name it that?
Because it sounded cool.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, excuse me. I'm telling you, half of Hayman, I will 100% say that it sounded cool, therefore it was canon.
That's it.
And I will say something that might be controversial, but sometimes if it sounds cool and everything, sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can work.
Sometimes roll cool is all you need.
Yeah.
But sometimes you create the super clan.
Yeah. But that doesn't sound cool though. So it sounded cool when I thought about it, but now as an older person looking back at this, I was like, why did I think that sounded good? Because usually, that's a big oops. That's a big oof. That's a big yikes. That's a big yikes for all the kids out there. Do kids still say yikes? I don't know. But anyway, yeah. We'll have to do, if you guys want another episode of the Hayman Files because I got some more. But if you guys want another one into the old processes of stuff, we can do another episode of this. It would be fun.
Yeah, and I think it would be interesting for me to try to talk a little bit more about my old work.
Yeah, we could do a next one for his old work.
Because I'm a lot less proud of it. I don't know. I would have to refresh myself because it's been a long time since I looked at those old notes.
Some of them. I remember some of them.
I know. Stupid idiot.
If you want to hear about that, put it in the comments, or send an email to us. We're heading out. We're heading out the door. So let's do the emails and all that stuff. So you can send an email to us and say we want to hear about the la 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 la.
If you want to pick me up and invert me and put my head into a toilet, what you can do is you can contact us at...
Why did you say invert me? That's such a nerd thing to say.
Because it's been a bit this whole time. My brother's been here for 2 weeks, and we keep talking about picking each other up, inverting each other, and locating the nearest toilet. If you'd like to stick my head in the toilet, please send us an email to halftonetakes@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed listening, please give us a rating and review on iTunes, Podcast Addict, or wherever else podcasts are rated. I've been Adam Bucherri. I'm an animator and game designer. If you want, you can find my tabletop games at boocherry.itch.io. That is boo like ghost, cherry like fruit.
Cool. And I have been Cory Revis. I am an illustrator and comic creator. You can find me on Instagram at EARTHUR_1. That is Earther1. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. Last note, guys, please create. Make things.
Please create. New year coming up. Be kind to each other. Make stuff.
Love
one another. To you next episode.
Yes. I love you, buddy. This was a good talk.
I love you too. Always a genuine pleasure.
Yes, that was good.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Should be the work. How dare you say that I'm harming Michael Jai White? He is a national treasure. It is a crime that he is not the world's biggest superstar, and we're gonna get him back on people's lips by giving him another starring role, which he has been sorely lacking.
That is true. I immediately took offense to that. I was like, Michael, how dare you talk about him in that? Like he is not good. White. Yeah, I love him.
He's the fucking best.
Okay. I thought you were like, I severely took a little bit of offense to that when you started talking. I was like, excuse me?
He's incredible.
I like Michael Jai White, actually.
So originally we were talking about having Daniel Radcliffe be the star. And then it was like, no,
that's too easy.
Too comedy. Like we're making a comedy again. It needs to be an action movie. We need an action star who can do the badass stuff, but also has the comedic chops. And it's just like, fuck, Michael Jai White. It's got to be him.
Absolutely.